My sister hijacked my engagement party, so I banned her from my wedding. My family turned against me when my sister announced her pregnancy at my engagement party. I was stunned. The glass clink that changed everything. I've never been one for drama. Honestly, I've always preferred to stay on the sidelines, let others have their moment. But this time? This time I was supposed to have mine. I'm 27 years old, and I just got engaged to the love of my life, Evan. He's 30, stable, sweet, and everything I've ever wanted. After years of feeling like a background character in my own family, I was finally the center of attention. For once, the spotlight was mine. We hosted a beautiful engagement party at my parents' house. Nothing fancy, just a casual backyard setup with fairy lights, a buffet table, soft music, and about 30 to 40 people, close friends and family. It was the first event in years where people were genuinely gathered to celebrate me. Not my younger sister, Anna. Not some competition she won. Not some meltdown that turned into a spectacle. Me. Anna is 24. Charming, radiant, the golden child of our family. Ever since we were kids, she had this uncanny ability to absorb all the light in the room. My parents adored her, and still do. And while I don't hate her, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a complicated web of resentment under the surface. Growing up, every one of my milestones was somehow upstaged. When I graduated high school, my party turned into a celebration of Anna winning a debate contest. On my 21st birthday, she had a dramatic meltdown over a pimple, yes, really, and my parents spent the night comforting her while I quietly blew out candles with my best friend. It became a running theme. If I was Cinderella, she was the stepsister who kept showing up in glitter and sequins just as I got my glass slipper. So this party? This was sacred. I told myself, this is your night. It's finally about you. The evening started wonderfully. Evan and I mingled, people laughed, drinks flowed. The cake, this gorgeous, white frosted thing my friend Beth brought, was waiting patiently on the table. I was minutes away from cutting it when I felt my stomach churn. Blame the sketchy tacos I had the night before. I slipped into the house for what I thought would be a quick 5-minute bathroom break. What could possibly go wrong in 5 minutes? Apparently, everything. When I walked back into the backyard, something was different. The air had shifted. The buzz wasn't about us anymore. People weren't looking my way. They were huddled around someone else, cheering, clapping, squealing. Then I saw her. Anna. Glowing. Beaming. One hand clasped in her husband's, the other cradling her stomach. I blinked. What's happening? I asked, more to myself than anyone. One of my cousins rushed over. Oh my God. Isn't it amazing? Anna's pregnant. She just announced it. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The cake? Shoved off to the side like an afterthought. The music? Changed to something upbeat and baby-themed. My mom? Already crying happy tears and cooing about becoming a grandma. And me? Just standing there, holding a plastic cup of ginger ale, watching my engagement party morph into a surprise baby shower. I'll be honest, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't throw a drink in anyone's face. I smiled. Walked up to Anna. Gave her a hollow congratulations. She hugged me, like everything was fine. Sorry, she whispered, I just couldn't hold it in. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I couldn't. Not in front of everyone. Instead, I stood quietly on the edge of my own party, a ghost at the celebration that was supposed to be mine. The toast we planned? Never happened. Evan and I never cut the cake. We didn't even get to thank our guests. Beth ended up slicing the cake for anyone who wanted it, but by then, no one cared. The party had already shifted. The crowd belonged to Anna. And I went home early, nauseous and hollow. That night, as soon as I closed the door to our apartment, I broke down. Evan held me while I cried, not just over the ruined party, but over a lifetime of always being second best. And for once, I didn't feel crazy for being hurt. He saw it too. All of it. I was going to say something, he whispered, but it happened so fast. I didn't know how to stop her without making a scene. He wasn't the only one. A few friends texted me later, that was messed up. I don't blame you if you're furious. She stole your moment. Even so, the next day I did what any reasonable person would do. I texted Anna. I told her I was hurt. That I felt like she deliberately made her announcement while I was in the bathroom, knowing full well what that would do to the evening. Her response? "I'm sorry you feel that way. It wasn't on purpose. I thought you'd be happy for me. Not, I'm sorry I did that. Just, sorry you feel that way." That's when I decided Anna would not be at my wedding. The fallout begins, and my family turns against me. Telling Anna she was uninvited from the wedding wasn't an impulsive decision. It was a deliberate act of self-respect. She had been chosen as one of my bridesmaids. That was already a stretch, considering her past behavior. But I believed, foolishly, that maybe this time things would be different. That maybe she'd let me have this one, singular moment in the sun. I was wrong. After I sent her that message, I turned off my phone and tried to breathe. But peace? That wasn't in the cards. The next morning, my phone exploded. Dozens of calls and texts from Anna. Some long paragraphs, some voice messages. All boiling with righteous rage. I answered the first call, hoping she might offer a genuine apology. I should have known better. The moment I picked up, she didn't even let me speak. "You're seriously uninviting me? You're being a psychotic brat over nothing. I didn't mean to upstage you. I was just excited." Then came the slur. She called me a bitter, jealous witch. And no, she didn't say which. That was enough. "I'm not doing this with you," I said and hung up. She kept calling. I stopped answering. Then came the voicemails. One after another. Her tone seesawed between fake sadness and explosive rage. "You're being crazy," she barked in one. "I can't believe you'd throw away your relationship with your sister over a stupid party," in another. Still, no apology. Not a word about what she did, only fury over how I reacted to it. Evan overheard one of her messages and just shook his head. "You're not wrong," he said. "Don't let her guilt you into backing down." I muted her number. But like a virus, the drama began spreading. That week, my aunt called. "Sweetheart, I know you're upset, but she's pregnant. Cut her some slack." Slack? For hijacking the most important celebration of my life? She didn't mean it, my aunt added. She just got caught up in the moment. Her hormones are probably going crazy. There it was again, the magical excuse for anything and everything, pregnancy. I didn't buy it. You don't accidentally stand up, tap your glass for attention, and make a life-altering announcement at someone else's party. That's not hormones. That's ego. Then came the social media storm. Anna posted a vague status. "It's funny how some people can't be happy for you unless they're the center of attention. Family should mean more than petty drama. Broken heart #sisters." I stared at the post, my jaw clenched. Not once did I mention her publicly. Not once did I shame her. But here she was, playing the victim on full display. What followed was a flood of comments from her friends and our extended relatives. "You deserve better, girl, 2 hearts. Some people don't know the meaning of family. I'd uninvite her from your life tbh." And the worst? The private messages. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly reaching out. I heard what happened. "Are you okay?" But "are you okay" didn't mean I support you. It meant I heard the version of the story Anna told me, and I'm here to gently suggest you're overreacting. That was the most infuriating part. Anna wasn't just upset. She was rewriting history. According to the gossip mill, I was the unhinged bridezilla who flipped out over a pregnancy announcement. I was jealous and possessive and irrational. Apparently, I even threw a drink at her and stormed out of my own party in tears. For the record, none of that happened. But facts don't matter when lies are more entertaining. My grandmother called too. Sweet, old-fashioned, fragile-hearted grandma. She didn't yell. She didn't insult me. She just sighed. "I didn't raise you girls to behave like this," she whispered. "You two need to make up. Life's too short." I wanted to scream, "Grandma, do you even know what she did?" But I didn't. I just said, "I love you, but I'm standing by my decision." And then came the final blow, my mother. She called me a few days later, her voice already laced with disapproval. "We need to talk." I braced myself. What followed was a monologue I'll never forget. "You're being ridiculous," she said. "This is a family matter, and you're blowing it out of proportion." I told her what happened, step by step. How Anna made the announcement while I was in the bathroom, How the party flipped upside down. How I was erased from my own celebration. My mom's response? She didn't mean to take attention away. You're being too sensitive. And then she said it. The line that shattered something inside me. Back in my day, women didn't make everything about their emotions. Maybe you should get a grip, especially when it's that time of the month. I stared at my phone in disbelief. Did she just say that? Apparently, my feelings about my sister's betrayal were just menstrual hysteria. I calmly responded, "This has nothing to do with my period, Mom. It has everything to do with respect." She ruined something that mattered to me, and she didn't even apologize. Mom scoffed. "You're setting a bad example. Sisters are supposed to support each other." "Oh, like how Anna supported me?" Silence. "And then, if you don't invite her, I'm not coming to the wedding either." There it was. The ultimatum. My mother. Choosing sides. And not mine. The wedding plans crumble, and I realize who my real family is. After that call with my mother, I sat in silence for a long time. The kind of silence where your ears ring and your hands tremble, not from fear, but from disbelief. She said she wouldn't come. To my wedding. Because I refused to reward my sister for hijacking my engagement. I stared at the RSVP list on my laptop. My fingers hovered over the guest count, still marked at 115. Now? I wasn't so sure anymore. I told Evan everything. Word for word. He didn't flinch. "She's wrong," he said simply. "You don't owe them your silence." We sat together that night and began adjusting the list. Removing Anna. My mom. And, unfortunately, a handful of other relatives who had made it crystal clear they were choosing her side. Some hadn't said it directly, but the silence spoke volumes. No congratulations. No, I'm sorry this happened to you. Just a quiet absence that screamed, "You're the problem." It was gutting. The next week, we called the venue and caterer and shaved 40 guests off the list. That should have made things cheaper, right? But somehow, it just made everything feel smaller. Still, I refused to let them steal this from me. Not my sister. Not my mom. Not their web of manipulations. I had waited too long, endured too much, to let them take this too. We moved forward. I leaned on my dad. A quiet man, but steady. Always there in the background, never loud, never dramatic, but reliable in a way that my mother never was. When I told him what was going on, he just nodded slowly and said, "I'm proud of you." He took me out to lunch the next day. We sat in our usual booth at a little diner we used to go to when I was a kid. Over black coffee and pancakes, he reassured me. "I've seen the favoritism your whole life," he said. "You're not crazy. You're finally standing up for yourself, and that scares them." He was right. For years, I swallowed every slight. I forced smiles at every celebration that wasn't mine. I hugged Anna through every one of her milestones while mine were quietly forgotten. Not anymore. I still got the occasional guilt trip text from my mom. "You're going to regret this. This isn't how family works. She's your only sister." But I didn't reply. Not once. The night before the wedding, I got a message from a cousin I hadn't heard from in months. "Hey. Just wanted to say I admire your courage. I know everyone's piling on you, but I think you're doing what's right." It wasn't much. But it felt like water in a desert. The day of the wedding arrived. I woke up early. My hands were cold. My stomach a mess. But not from fear. From the weight of absence. There were seats left empty on purpose. Places where my mother should have been. Where my sister could have been. Where extended family who had watched me grow up should have been clapping and smiling and crying happy tears. Instead, they were somewhere else. Rumor had it they held their own gathering that day. A little backyard cookout, complete with cupcakes and banners for Anna's baby. Cute. I stared at my reflection in the mirror while my best friend applied mascara to my lashes. "You're glowing," she whispered. "Let them be bitter. You're radiant." I forced a smile. When the music began, when the guests stood, when I stepped out in my gown, everything else melted away. Because there, at the end of the aisle, was Evan. Waiting for me. And walking beside me? My dad. Not just as a father, but as someone who had watched his daughter finally fight for herself. The ceremony was beautiful. There were tears. Laughter. A breeze that lifted my veil like a movie scene. Evan and I exchanged vows that we wrote together in the quiet of our kitchen, days before, after a long night of wine and reminiscing. And when we said, "I do," it felt like more than a promise to each other. It felt like a promise to myself. You are allowed to draw boundaries. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to demand better, even from the people who claim to love you most. The reception was joy in its purest form. The music was loud. The drinks flowed. My husband, danced with me until my feet ached. And in that room were the people who mattered. Beth, who baked the engagement cake no one got to eat. My future mother-in-law, who cried more than I did during the vows. My dad, who toasted me with trembling hands and a voice that cracked when he said, "You've always deserved the spotlight." I didn't miss the others. Not really. They made their choice. So did I. My sister spins a new lie, and I refuse to be her scapegoat. You'd think that after the wedding, after the silence, the boycotts, the empty seats, things would settle. They didn't. A week later, I got a message from one of my cousins. Someone I used to be close with. She was hesitant, dancing around the subject. "I don't want to stir anything up," she said, "but I thought you should know. Anna was at another family gathering. A birthday party, I think. She held court there like she always does. Pregnant, radiant, glowing in everyone's attention like a sunflower facing the sun. But she wasn't just celebrating, she was spinning a new version of the story. She told them I abandoned her. That I cut her off at the most vulnerable time of her life, when she needed her big sister the most. She left out the part where she hijacked my engagement party. Skipped the insults. Skipped the slurs. Skipped the phone calls, the Facebook posts, the manipulation. According to her, I uninvited her in a hormonal rage because I was jealous. Because I couldn't handle her good news. She cried. Said I hurt her deeply. Said I broke the sister bond. And they bought it. Some of them, at least. I'm told when someone at the party gently asked, "Wait, why did she uninvite you?" My cousin tried to answer. Tried to explain what really happened. But Anna gave him a sharp look. The vibe in the room shifted. So he dropped it. And that's the thing about family narratives. Truth doesn't matter as much as comfort. People don't want to believe their precious golden girl did something cruel. They want a simple story. A villain and a victim. I was the villain. And Anna, the glowing, expecting mother, was their poor, heartbroken casualty. It was disgusting. I felt my stomach knot. Again. But then I remembered, those people weren't at my wedding. The ones who were? They knew. They saw. They danced. They toasted. They cheered. And they didn't need to be fed a lie to love me. The next few weeks passed in a strange mix of peace and tension. Peace in the home Evan and I shared, surrounded by friends and in-laws who adored us. Tension every time my phone buzzed with an unknown number. Every time I saw a new post from someone I used to call family. I stopped engaging. Blocked a few people. Muted others. Left group chats that had become toxic war zones disguised as family support threads. I was done defending myself. If they wanted to believe Anna's fantasy version of events, they could. I wasn't their punching bag anymore. Then came the final chapter, the baby. The baby arrives, and I'm faced with an impossible choice. Time passed. Fall became winter. My wedding dress was boxed up and preserved. The flowers from our reception dried and were tucked into books. And slowly, the world moved on. Then came the text. From an unknown number. She had the baby. No name. No signature. But I knew exactly who it was about. Anna. I stared at the message, numb. I didn't respond. Later that night, Evan found me sitting on the couch in silence. "You okay?" he asked. I don't know. Because I wasn't angry anymore. Not really. I wasn't boiling or trembling. I was tired. Tired of being blamed. Tired of being twisted into the villain. Tired of missing people who clearly didn't miss me. But there was something else, too. Something deeper. Grief. Grief for the family I wished I had. For the sister I could have had. For the mother who could have stood beside me, but didn't. For the version of this life that didn't involve choosing between peace and people I once loved. And then came the pictures. Shared publicly. On Facebook, Instagram. The baby wrapped in soft pink blankets. A little girl. Big eyes. Tiny hands. A name I didn't recognize, no family tradition, no honoring of ancestors. Just a fresh start, I guess. The caption? Our miracle arrived safely. Already surrounded by so much love. Thank you to everyone who supported us during the most beautiful chapter of our lives. So much love. But not from me. And not from Evan. I stared at the baby's face longer than I wanted to. She was beautiful. Innocent. A blank slate. And yet, her arrival reopened every wound her mother had sliced open. A few days later, my mother reached out. Not a call. A message. Thought you might want to know her name. You're still her aunt, no matter what happened between you two. Still her aunt. The word stung. Was I? Was I still anything to them? Evan saw me rereading the message and put his hand gently over mine. You don't owe anyone anything, he said. Not after what they put you through. I know. But I did feel something. Not obligation. Not duty. Longing. To be seen. To be understood. To be forgiven for sins I didn't commit. I sat on that message for days. Never replied. Eventually, I wrote a single sentence. When your daughter's old enough to hear the truth, I hope you'll have the courage to tell her. And then I blocked the number. Not out of spite. But out of mercy. For myself. Because I knew, if I kept that door cracked open, they'd keep dragging me through the storm. And I'd already built my peace. Our home, small but warm. Our dinners filled with laughter, not guilt. Our love, quiet and strong. Anna could have her kingdom of curated captions and twisted stories. She could rule over people who needed a villain to feel safe. But I was done playing the role. Epilogue, love without apology. It's been months now. I still haven't spoken to my sister. My mother never came around. Some family members drifted away like dust in the wind. But I'm okay. Better than okay. I wake up next to someone who sees me. Who never asks me to dim my light for someone else's comfort. I host dinners where no one interrupts my toast. I laugh without wondering who will cry for attention next. And on the rare nights when I think about Anna, or the baby I may never meet, I remind myself. You can love people. And still walk away from them. You can mourn what could have been. And still cherish what is. You can lose half your family. And still feel whole. Because family isn't blood. It's choice. And I finally chose myself.